Limited edition Al Capone pins on sale now. Get them quick before they sell out. Link in the description down below. Good morning, honey. What's for breakfast?
Good morning, honey.
2 caskets of rum, a mug of hard cider, and a full bottle of wine. Oh boy! Oh, I'm running late. I'll have to take it with me. Don't forget your lunch. It's a 6-pack of beer, a flask of whiskey, 6 shots of tequila, and as a special treat, a banana. Oh, gee whiz. I'm gonna be smashed today. Enjoy your day of operating sharp, dangerous farm equipment. I can't believe this is an acceptable way to live. God bless America.
I'm gonna go get drunk and deal with the most dangerous shit there is. I'm okay. Guys, if you guys have channels ideas, always let me know. Ideas for reaction or channel. I like seeing different stuff. Different.
Okay, gotta go.
Oh.
I love my life! America, the land of beautiful strip malls, top-class infrastructure, and wonderful urban sprawl. Ah yes, beautiful America. But what's the most American thing you can think of? The Statue of Liberty? Mount Rushmore? A crazy
burgers?
Lady in a mobility scooter yelling at a pigeon? Well, what if I told you the answer is alcohol?
Alcohol.
That's right. When the pure.
What do you guys think is the most American thing? I think you guys are gonna say guns, aren't you? Are you guys gonna say guns? I feel like you're gonna say guns. What's the most embarrassing thing? Yeah, you're gonna say guns. I knew you were gonna say guns. He made a video of Badger and Heavenly. Oh, he did. Guns, steak. Your soul is mine. But Devlier, thank you for the follow.
Puritans arrived on a
What did you expect? Guns.
America's shores, they brought a ship packed with beer. George Washington provided his men with a daily cup of whiskey. Andrew Jackson's inauguration party left the White House so trashed that everybody had to be ordered outside. Frederick Douglass said whiskey made him feel like a president. Me too, Frederick. Me too. Americans drink at breakfast. Doctors prescribe their patients hard liquor.
Imagine someone just getting super drunk, and each time they get super drunk, they think they're a president. Like especially if they're like a super, like they're not smart at all, except for when they get drunk and then all of a sudden they're using the biggest words. They think they're president. Mine. Little brown bunny, thank you for the follow. Listen, alcohol hits people differently. Each a different person.
In the 19th century, Americans drank 3 times as much as their modern-day counterparts. That's a lot of whiskey. Hey, Jerry, how's that report coming along? Already done, sir. I've also organized your paperwork, watered your flowers, and been a father figure to your children. Wait a minute. What's that smell? Have you been drinking at work? No, sir, I would never. Well, why not? Everyone else is doing it, but I got all my work done. You're fired!
How dare you? Oh my God!
Americans drink at work. They drink at barn raisings, baptisms, and public hangings.
No wonder people died so much. No wonder, like, you know, this is a really strange place for me to pause. No wonder no one lived past, like, certain times.
Drinking was so normal that it was as American as apple pie. Hi, everyone. My name's Ron, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Ron.
Get over yourself, Ron. We're all alcoholics. But more and more Americans began to wonder whether all of this truly was a normal way to live.
Yeah, it was the ammo, but even
Americans
so,
drinking,
you know?
perhaps a little too much? Well, one group in particular thought the answer to that was yes. You know them, you love them. Woman.
Whammon.
Oh, crap. Woman.
I'm a whammon.
Wrong. Hang on. We just want to talk. Women talking in public?
I would show up and just show my ankles. I would go in front of everyone and be like, "Hey, look!" and then flash my ankles, and just to scare everyone in there.
Rage. Come on, Fred. You've got 2 kids and a wife at home. Yet here you are spending your entire paycheck on booze. And you, Dr. Spanky, you were on the cusp of discovering time travel. But what did you discover instead? The sweet, sweet joys of whiskey. That's right. Alcohol. It's destroying our families, our jobs, and our homes. She's right. She's right. Hang on, men. Don't let them get to you. This saloon is our safe space where our wives and children can't annoy us with reality, where we're free to be real men. She's right. She's right. I am a man. And what is it real men do? Take care of their families. I don't know what she's talking about. Do you take care of your family? No. We drink beer, we shoot guns, and we mud wrestle. As America's heavy drinking
They're like,
ruined
we
more and
lost
more
you there.
lives,
Take care of
more
our family,
resistance
please.
began to arise, and women were at the forefront, taking matters into their own hands at a time when women doing just about anything was shocking. They'd had enough of being victim to their husband's heavy drinking, and they were going to do something unprecedented.
Gator Boy, thank you for the follow.
You're going to what? I'm going to protest. Oh, sweetie. Women can't protest. Starting in Ohio, before spreading nationwide,
Well, there they are.
women began a crusade against alcohol. They marched through towns
Yeah,
and cities,
about that,
singing
sir.
hymns, gathering outside saloons, and praying on their knees. Women praying was so terrifying that in some towns, schools were shut and business stagnated.
I find it hilarious that women doing anything scares people. Let's keep it so our women they just need to stay in the corner. Stay in the corner. Don't do anything. Please don't do anything. Just stand there, please. Oh my god. Hi, doggo. Hi. I want to mud wrestle. I've never mud wrestled before. Women are scary. Yeah.
On one occasion, firemen were called out to hose down the dangerous praying women.
You
On another,
hose
the owner of a beer
down
garden
women for
reportedly
praying?
held a cannon outside and threatened to reduce the savage women to dust.
They were gonna blast cannons at women for praying?
Nevertheless, they persisted. They formed the WCTU in 1874, and they organized. They set up homes for inebriate women. They installed water fountains in public
Oh my
parks. They
God.
wrote textbooks for school children that contained some interesting claims about drinking alcohol. Here's little Timmy. Uh-oh. Looks like Timmy's gonna have his first drink. He's taking a small sip of whiskey, and Timmy has spontaneously combusted. The end. The woman's efforts weren't in vain.
That gives the Sam like, hey, don't do this, as in Mean Girls, when the guy's like, hey kids. He's like, he's giving like a sex ed class, and he's like, don't have sex. You'll die. It's the same thing.
Small towns across America, drugstores agreed to stop fulfilling prescriptions
Respect
for
for their
alcohol.
efforts,
Men
respect.
committed themselves to giving up drink. Inspired by the woman's moral fervor, some saloon owners closed their doors. The Women's Crusade and other temperance movements were forcing people to reconsider
Oh yeah,
alcohol's
it's
role.
don't have sex or you will get pregnant and die. I knew there was something I was missing. That's the line. Yeah, that one.
On society, and more people began to side with the growing temperance movement. Many states had even begun enacting their own dry laws that restricted the sale and use of alcohol. One of them was Kansas, where alcohol had been outlawed since 1881. Despite this, many illegal saloons remained open, and authorities had done just about nothing to stop them. One woman, disgusted by what she saw, decided she would take the law into her own hands. And not just any woman, a terrifying, hatchet-wielding,
Huntress? It's the Huntress?
sweet old lady named Carrie Nation. Armed with her trusty hatchet and a bag of what she called
Okay,
smashers,
Carrie.
she traveled from town to town visiting saloons. But she wasn't there to get smashed. She was there to smash. The men could do nothing but cower as sweet little Carrie hulked out and tore the place to shreds. She went to Kiowa and smashy smashed. Wichita, smashy smash. Topeka, smashy smash. On a couple of occasions, she was arrested. But each time, they were like, okay, Carrie, we're gonna let you go so long as you promise to be a good girl and not smash up any more saloons, okay? Screw you, pig!
Am I the reincarnation of Carrie? Am I the reincarnation? Carrie means business! You can't stop, Carrie!
Yeah, I think she's gonna be all right. Smash, smash, smash.
Oh,
Carrie's
smash!
tactics shocked the other members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, but she assured them, and this is a quote, ladies, you do not know how much joy you will have until you smash, smash, smash. Carrie became a household name, and she hoped her unusual tactics would spread across the country.
Honestly,
Smash.
like, no disrespect, but she like kind of gives like, she kind of looks like she could be the Hawk. You know? Like her expression, her facial expression, like she looks like she could Hawk out at any moment.
Carrie became a household name, and she hoped her unusual tactics would spread across the country. But unfortunately,
mama,
many of
yeah.
the women's movements eventually slowed down. Why? Well, because of this kind of thing. Thelma, I ripped my pants again. Ugh, well, you'll have to sew them yourself because I'm going out protesting. What? I don't know how to sew. What if I burn the house down and get eaten by alligators? What? Ha! Don't be stupid, Mitch. Look, I've gotta
Mitch.
go. Call me stupid? She's the one who's stupid. Hey, Thelma! Look who's stupid now! See, while the women were out protesting, there was nobody to do the cooking and cleaning and being seen and not heard, and they gradually had to return to their duties at home. But where the women had got the ball rolling, a new movement was about to take that ball
A new
all the way to
movement.
Washington, D.C.
Sewing is relaxing, dude. I can sew, but I can't like knit for shit. I can't do that.
I'm talking about the Anti-Saloon League. The Anti-Saloon League was a political pressure group run by a very sweet-looking old man. But don't let that deceive you. This guy was an evil genius. While the women's movements
could tell,
were
it's the
interested in a
mustache.
whole range of issues, Wayne Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League only cared about
Your
enemy number one,
soul
Mr.
is mine.
Alcohol. And as a result, they
Demonic, thank you for the follow.
were extremely effective. They were able to exploit the fears of the American people. And I mean everyone's fears. Here's how they did it. Hello, sir. Welcome to the Liberal Progressive Rally. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, I'm Patty, and I'm an immigrant from Ireland. And tell me, Patty, do you drink? Oh, yes. I drink a lot. See, folks, people like Patty come here looking for a better life, only to end up drunk in the gutter. Don't worry, sir. We're gonna help you. Hey, man, you're doing great. I just need you for one more thing. Hey, Christian conservatives. This is Patty. He's a dirty Catholic Irish immigrant who's come to destroy America with his alcohol-fueled debauchery! Workers were told alcohol was a capitalist ploy to keep them subjugated. Factory owners were told alcohol was making their irresponsible workers lazy. The black community was warned alcohol was hindering its progress, while racists were warned alcohol would turn black men into brutes. In one of the most confusing eras of American politics, totally opposing groups found themselves agreeing on at least one thing.
Alcohol bad.
was bad. The
Bad-
Anti-Saloon
bad
League also made
alcohol.
great use
Alcohol
of
bad.
propaganda, something prohibitionists have been doing for decades. Take this specimen, for example, that warns what will happen to you if you start drinking. Let's see. First you take a drink, you get a little rowdy, okay. You make some new friends, nice. Then you become homeless. You turn to crime, and... oh... But the most
They
effective...
missed the step where you turn into a cactus. You turn to a cactus and then you start pricking everyone around you. And then you get super, super dry and then you spontaneously combust.
effective tactic Wheeler used to force prohibition on America was pressure politics. In any election he could, Wheeler very successfully rounded up support against any politician who was in favor of alcohol. In
They skipped
Ohio
the
alone,
femboy
he had 70
phase?
state representatives and the popular Republican governor ousted from office and replaced with prohibitionists. Suddenly, every politician in America was afraid of Wayne Wheeler. Even those who enjoyed alcohol in private began pretending to be against it in public. Alcohol is delicious. Malicious.
bad.
Sorry, Wayne. I'm really drunk right now. Then it really hit the fan in 1917, when America found itself fighting in the First World War against Germany. Anti-German sentiment exploded. Sauerkraut became Liberty cabbage. German measles became Liberty measles. And Dachshunds became the embodiment of evil.
Not the wieners! The wieners!
See, America? You've always been this way. The biggest brewers in America were German, and Wheeler saw to it that drinking alcohol became akin to pro-German treason. The German brewers desperately
This
tried to fight back.
dude was good at propaganda. My gosh, he was good at, because these people do this, this means bad. Like he was good at his mission. They hated wiener dogs. Are you telling me they actually hated wiener dogs? Who hates wiener dogs? Americans hated wiener dogs? Just imagine hating any type of dog. What's wrong with you?
Creating their own propaganda, presenting beer as a
Number
healthy
one
beverage,
gaslighter,
one
yeah.
that you could even give to your kids. As you can imagine, it didn't go down well. President Wilson instituted some temporary wartime prohibition measures to save grain for food. And with many in the country now in support of prohibition, all that was left
That
was to make
Procto
it
is so
law.
weird.
One problem was that taxes on alcohol made up nearly 40% of the US government's annual revenue. And the government wasn't just about to give that up. No problem. The Anti-Saloon League helped lobby for the creation of a new income tax on the American people. And just like that, the government was no longer reliant on alcohol. Prohibition was finally introduced to Congress in 1913, not just as a law, but a constitutional.
You said the only bad dogs are pugs and chihuahuas. I love pugs and chihuahuas. There's actually a lot of people in my chat who have chihuahuas. How many people in chat have chihuahuas? By the way, I asked chat a while ago. There's a good amount who have chihuahuas. Yep. See? I told you.
The House held their final vote on the Prohibition Amendment. Wheeler was watching from the gallery. You spineless cowards. I know half of you drink, yet here you are bowing down to Ned Flanders up there. Look at him, like he's some kind of Caesar. Ugh, don't be so dramatic. I obviously don't think I'm Caesar. Now release the lion. In the end, Prohibition passed the House easily, 282 votes to 128, and the states ratified the new amendment by 1919. America, a nation obsessed with liberty and freedom, had just voluntarily given up its private right to choose whether or not to drink alcohol. We did it, folks. We fixed everything. America will be perfect forever. But you just dissolved America's 5th largest industry and lost tens of thousands of jobs for us immigrants. No, you idiot. You don't get it. We helped you. Idiot. Ugh, I could really go for a beer.
I feel like that's how most fights in like American politics goes. Just like, no, you idiot. No, you idiot. No, you idiot. No, you idiot.
Oh, no. Immediately after Prohibition went into effect, alcohol consumption in America decreased as Americans followed the law and tried not drinking. Man, if we're gonna be law-abiding good boys, we need something else to fill the dark, lonely void that delicious beer once did. Well, how about we crack open a nice cold can of water? Hell yeah.
You could get strippers.
Toss it over. Nah, this isn't doing it for me. Let's try knitting. This isn't filling the dark void at all.
His little cat hat.
Wanna play some kites?
Cute.
Ah, screw it. Let's go get some illegal beer. While it seemed like many Americans supported Prohibition, after the law went into effect, it seemed like just as many Americans intended to keep on drinking, and they would go on to find a variety of ways to break the new law. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Do you like breaking the law?
Yes.
Well, shame on
no.
you. Or do you like saving money when you shop online? Then
Yes.
you should use Honey. Do you ever shop in the store? Of course not. Then you'd have to talk to real-life people.
See, I've already used Honey before. Oversimplified. You're too late. The ad doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Yuck. You'd rather shop online in the
Yours.
comfort
Because
and
I've
darkness
already
of your
used
mom's basement.
it.
Ah.
It
And
was
better
good.
yet,
It was
you
good.
can save
Honey
money
was
when you
good.
shop online
Roland
with
in
Honey.
reverse. Thank you
Honey
for
is
the
a free
follow.
browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically tests them when you're checking out. Look at me. I'm buying a Baby Yoda smartwatch to increase my chances of getting a girlfriend. And look, this Magic Dancing Coin Man has a promo
Honestly,
code
that
for
would
me.
help you. That would help you get the
Holy heckin'
girlfriend.
balls. I just saved $18.75. Watch out, ladies. And guess what? Those of you who've already
Honey, it's good. You
installed
put it
Honey
in your
using
tea?
my link
I
have
like
found over
honey in my tea, too.
$247,000 in savings. So what are the rest of you waiting for, you big dumb stinky idiots? It's free and can be easily peasily installed in 2 clicks. So get Honey for free today by going to joinhoney.com/oversimplified. That's
Graham.
joinhoney.com/oversimplified.
Let's go,
And as always,
bootlegging.
you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you.
Oh
Now
my
where-
god, Papa Mutt! Hi, it's me, the big stinky dumb idiot. I love a Papa Mutt. I love a Papa Mutt. Can we get a shout out, Papa Mutt, please?
Where were we?
Hi, Papa Mutt.
Oh,
How
yeah.
are you today?
Punching Patty, passing Prohibition, and procuring pints. Pretty soon after the new law went into effect, the failures of Prohibition were already beginning to rear their ugly heads. For starters, the details of the new Prohibition law, written by none other than Wayne Wheeler himself, turned out to be more draconian than expected. Many Prohibition supporters only wanted to outlaw hard liquor and hoped beer would remain legal, but the Volstead Act outlawed anything over 0.5%. That would make
Not the
Liberty
beer.
cabins illegal. Secondly, the
Guys, you know what's so crazy? I've been craving beer. And I always thought beer tasted like shit. But like, you know, something about like if you get a beer and then you get like meat with it, it hits. Like if you eat like chicken wings and beer it hits. You know? I love you, Blue Jay. Mwah. That's what, and I've low-key been craving that. Like I've been craving the stereotypical man meal. If you get good beer, it's great. I think beer is disgusting. I think beer is disgusting sometimes too. But like I want chicken wings and beer. You know, it's a pretty good meal combo. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not dissing it. I think it's really good. Chicken wings and beer? I want that.
New law was full of loopholes that Americans very quickly began
kind
to
of wings?
exploit. For
Buffalo
example,
wings.
while the
Or
sale
just
and
regular.
manufacture of liquor was illegal, drinking it wasn't. And you could
Or
also keep
lemon
any
pepper?
alcohol you had before the law went into effect. So many private clubs hoarded huge amounts of alcohol that saw them through the entire Prohibition period. Whiskey intended for medicinal purposes was also allowed, and doctors basically became bartenders. It looked as though a full-on epidemic had broken out, as there was a sudden surge in prescriptions for whiskey. Sacramental wines used by churches and synagogues were also permitted. Orders for communion wine suspiciously skyrocketed by millions of gallons. And as rabbis had access to religious wine, suddenly everyone was becoming a rabbi. You had Rabbi Pat O'Leary, Rabbi LL Cool J, Rabbi Fluffy. But don't worry,
Rabbi
I'm sure all
LL
these
Cool
definitely
J.
legitimate religious figures couldn't possibly be selling wine in the back alley after Mass. Yep, definitely nothing strange going on here. New products also hit the shelves in stores, such as Vine Glow, a brick of dehydrated grape juice, itself not alcoholic, and therefore perfectly legal. But the packaging did contain a strangely specific warning. After dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place the liquid in a jug in the cupboard for 20 days, because then it would turn into wine. I'll take 1,000. Yes, sir. Now, at this point, I want you to think back for me, if you will, to the year 2005.
Wow,
You're the coolest
literally
kid around,
fermenting.
and you convince your parents to
yeah.
rent the greatest movie of all time from your local Blockbuster. But the movie starts with a strange
I like wine. Papa Mutt, do you know the reason why I like wine is because I like feeling like a vampire? Like, I want to be a vampire so badly. Like, I don't really want to be a vampire, but like I want to feel like one. I want to feel like one of those sophisticated. I want to wear a gown, like you know, a beautiful housewife gown, and just like drink blood, but not really. You know, like I want to drink wine that looks like blood, be a vampire, and be fucking sexy with red lipstick. It's the vibe.
message. Something about not downloading a car? You immediately disregard that and hop on Kazaa to download the
dress
greatest
cannot be
song
white.
of all
It has
time.
to be
And
either
in the process,
black or
drain
red.
your dad's bank account
Or
with
dark
copious
blue.
amounts of ransomware. You were breaking the law, you bad boy or girl. But did anyone come to arrest you? No. That's my point. If no one's enforcing a law, while everyone's breaking it, is it really a law? And so it was with Prohibition. See, the conservative-led governments of the decade were also the kind of people who believed in small government spending. So they'd passed a law that would be extremely difficult to enforce, but also didn't want to spend any of the money required to enforce it. The newly created Bureau of Prohibition only had 1,500 agents to cover the entire country. That's one agent for every 70,666 Americans in a massive country with
not gonna
12,000
work.
miles of coastline and one gigantic land border with Canada. Good luck,
Animated
schmuckos.
Dino,
And
thank
all
you
these
for the
clever little
follow.
loopholes people were using to score illegal booze were only just the beginning. America was about to devolve into alcohol-fueled criminal chaos.
Oh shit.
By outlawing it, Prohibition had made alcohol a precious commodity, and millions of Americans would become outlaws as they found a variety of ways to score illegal booze. For example, many Americans began making their own liquor. Illegal stills from making moonshine were found by Prohibition agents from the hills of Kentucky and the caves of Arizona to parking lots in major cities, and even in the homes of Prohibition-supporting politicians. Oh, come on now, fellas. I
Wow.
voted for Prohibition. I'm not gonna have an illegal still. What's this? That's my son, Freddie. Say hi,
Your
Freddie. Sir, this is
soul
obviously
is
an illegal
mine.
still.
No,
How
that's his
dare
son.
you? Hey, what's this in the bathtub? That's bath water. Why does it taste like alcohol? Here's a better question.
Why are you
tasting
drinking my bath water?
Weirdo. Come on, Freddie. Let's get away from these perverts. To discourage
Obviously.
moonshining, the government
Yep.
began adding extra
Yep.
toxins to many of the products moonshiners were using, which resulted in many cases of severe illness and death. But alcohol wasn't just being made at home.
How dare him
Along
go after
America's
his son
vast
like that?
coastlines, rum runners smuggled alcohol into the country by sea. A floating supermarket known as Rum Row extended along the East Coast,
Jackson, Animated Dino, and Brawl, thank you for the follow.
just beyond America's maritime limit, and bootleggers frequently sailed out in small boats to pick up shipments of booze. These bootleggers could then be found selling their illegal products everywhere, even in the holes of Congress. Wow, Pop. One day, I want to work here. Well, son, if you work hard and never give up, one day even you could be a massive hypocrite. Even President Harding was known to serve his cabinet bootlegged whiskey, and some bootleggers were so successful, they became
Your
bazillionaires,
soul is
such as Roy
mine.
Olmsted, an ex-cop who became one of the biggest employers in the Seattle area from smuggling booze. Unfortunately, all of his whiskey came from Canada. Yuck. All of this
Is whiskey Canada gross? Is whiskey from Canada whiskey from Canada gross? Hi Deneki! Thank you for the follow. You're a great streamer. You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much. It's like is Canadian it's nope, it's fantastic. So it's just we just you know the people in this video just had bad taste. Canadian whiskey. Don't forget the speakeasies.
Criminality was being made possible by copious amounts
Maybe
of
back
corruption.
then. Oh yeah,
Across the country,
things are way
armies of
different
government
now
officials
than
were
back
persuaded
then,
to
so
turn a
that,
blind eye. Bootleggers became so rich, it was no problem to stuff a couple $1,000s into the front pocket of the police chief, or the mayor, or their disapproving mother. And some cops were getting almost as rich as the bootleggers. All right, men, everyone gather in. I've received word that one of you has been taking bribes from bootleggers. Any ideas who? Kevin, perhaps. Got any thoughts? No, sir. Many police officers came from the same communities that drank a lot, and they weren't about to arrest their own granddads for knocking back some homemade gin. But all this isn't to say there was no enforcement. Plenty of government officials were doing their best to...
Sound alert shouldn't be on. You were able to play the scream? They shouldn't be on right now. I paused the sound alerts a long time ago.
Forced the new laws, and some unlucky individuals received very harsh penalties, such as a Michigan mother who was sentenced to life in prison for small-scale moonshining. Cases like these were widely reported in the media and only served to make Prohibition even more unpopular. But not just that, the media also loved to cover the exploits of the most famous bootleggers, turning them into national icons. One of the biggest bootleggers was a man named George Remus. Originally
George looks like he's up to no good.
A lawyer, he watched as his bootlegger clients paid off enormous fines like it was nothing and proclaimed bootlegging's the business for me. But unlike most bootleggers, Remus had big brain, and he came up with a pretty clever system. See, there were millions of gallons of liquor produced before Prohibition that were sitting in distillery warehouses, and it could only be sold with government permission to drug companies. So Remus set up his own drug company and bottled the liquor. Then he set up his own transport company to transport the liquor. And then he would send his own men out with guns to intercept his own transport vehicles. And this would happen. Hey man, this is a stick-up. Oh no, please don't hurt me. I won't hesitate to shoot. Please, I have a wife and kids.
He's so smart.
Hand over all the whiskey, Fatty. Hey, Fatty isn't in the script, you jerk.
They had to make it seem realistic. They actually had to hurt your feelings. It's okay. He
After
didn't mean
stealing
it.
all the whiskey from himself, he could then sell it for big bucks.
Luca, thank you for the follow.
The perfect crime. Unfortunately, Remus was eventually caught by a goody two-shoes Prohibition director in Indiana who wouldn't take Remus's bribes, and the government found Remus guilty of violating the Volstead Act 3,000 times. For 2 years, as Remus sat in prison, his wife promised to take care of all of his money. And by take care of his money, she meant have an affair with a Prohibition agent, sell off everything Remus owned, and file for divorce. When Remus finally got out and found his big fancy mansion empty with his wife gone, he reportedly broke down in tears.
Oh no, my man put in so much work. He put in so much work.
2 months later, during their divorce trial, he spotted his wife in a car in Cincinnati. Remus hopped in a cab and asked the driver to run her off the road. The driver was like, okay. Then Remus got out of the cab and shot his wife dead. He immediately handed himself into the police, and his next trial, this time for murder, became a national sensation.
Holy
Remus
crap.
defended himself, claiming insanity, occasionally carrying out skillful questioning, occasionally crying in the corner. But the nation
The Mad Gorilla, thank you for the follow.
felt bad for him. His wife had screwed him over, and so when after just 19 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned and declared him not guilty, the court erupted into celebration. And just to remind you, this guy bluntly admitted to murdering his wife.
He was not guilty.
The American justice system. Mwah. As alcohol poured into the nation,
What
a lot of
the
it was going to a
frick?
new type of drinking establishment that had been booming in popularity. A secret drinking establishment. So secret that from the outside, they often look like ordinary shops or homes.
I think that like when the gangsters had the hats and the suits, they looked their coolest. Like the mafia and the gangsters. I think that was the coolest, like hardest look for me. You know? Like what is that? That's the Godfather. The Godfather look was the best, in my opinion. What do you guys think? What do you think for the gangsters? Like, yeah, hey, I'm walking here. Yeah, exactly. You know? You agree? You disagree?
So secret that you usually needed a password to get in. So secret that everybody knew about them. Speakeasies. And once you were in, the party went all night long. Scantily clad flappers, snake ladies, jazz. It was a roaring time to be alive. Some publications even posted reviews of these illegal clubs, and bribes galore kept the party going. It seemed like half the police officers and federal agents in cities like New York were receiving kickbacks from speakeasy owners. Hey! What the Kevin Costner is going on here? Officer O'Hannity, taking bribes? Why am I not surprised? Prohibition directors.
I like how everyone in here is just a hypocrite at this point. Like everyone accusing everyone of everything. The mafia be like, professionals have standards. Yeah. Well, it's like, your soul is mine. Satan Index, thank you for the follow. I mean, I'm just saying, like, they had different looks. I mean, criminals nowadays look different, like they look, they don't have like a specific look per se. But back then they had like the hats and the gangster outfits,
Simmons? For shame. Mom? What would Dad say? Ask him yourself. Dad would say, quit being such a wet blanket and let Daddy earn his tips. Anytime a speakeasy was shut down, Dad would say, quit being such a wet blanket and let Daddy earn his tips. Anytime a speakeasy was shut down by authorities, it seemed like 3 more would just pop up elsewhere. And some neighborhoods were so full of them that one resident began hanging a sign to try to keep partygoers from constantly knocking on her door. It really seemed like the new laws regarding alcohol, in some places, were simply being ignored. And one Prohibition agent who traveled the country liked to see which city was the most defiant by timing how long it took for him to be offered a beer after he arrived. His winner? New Orleans, where a cab driver offered him a drink after just 35 seconds. Bravo! Many voices in Congress were already—
That's like me whenever I got into my Uber and the Uber driver was like, hey, you want to hit this blunt that I have? And I'm like, huh? What? I'm like, no, it's very sweet of you to ask, but no, thank you. I'm okay. Guys, I want to go to New Orleans. I want to go. Let's go on a big trip to New Orleans, chat, except for we have to eat all the food. All of it. All of it. Your Uber was smoking a joint while driving? Yes. And they asked if I wanted to hit. Yes, like I'm not joking. I have had an abundance of Uber drivers that have been very unique. I'll pass too hot for me. We'll put you in a fridge.
already speaking out against Prohibition and its failures. To display how ridiculous the whole thing was, one Republican congressman gathered the media to all come and watch him drink a homemade beer. When he asked a passing police officer if he'd like to arrest him, the officer said no. Hey Wayne, is all this what you had in mind? I thought we were gonna make the country better, but it almost seems like it's worse. What do you mean? Alcohol consumption is down. Well, that may be true in your small town world, but it says here drinking in some areas is up, as are arrests for public intoxication, drunk driving, and incidents of liver cirrhosis. The general chaos has turned America into a nation of criminals with no respect for the law, and all these attempts at enforcement are just costing the economy valuable money and eating up judicial time and resources. Release the lines. The social change and corruption that Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League had been so eager to prevent, in the cities at least, was surging. See, when something's legal, you can usually regulate and control it.
Yeah.
But make that thing illegal, and often anything becomes fair game. Legal drinking age, gone. Mandatory closing hours for clubs and bars, gone.
Wait, say that one more time.
But make that thing illegal, and often anything becomes fair game. Legal drinking age, gone. Mandatory closing hours for clubs and bars, gone. Other unspoken sociocultural rules surrounding alcohol, gone, gone, gone. In speakeasies, different genders and ethnicities were beginning to mingle in a way they hadn't done before. The Roaring Twenties saw a monumental shift in culture, not least of all because now men and women
The fashion was my favorite. I loved
could
it.
flirt in public without being damned for eternity. An outraged Wayne Wheeler did his best to make sure that anyone breaking the law was punished. He had even stricter legislation put in place in New York. But all this did was clog up the justice system with petty drinking violations, and judges began letting everyone off with light fines, so the judges could get back to
there would
dealing
be
with
too many
things
people that
actually mattered.
would
You
get
know,
in trouble.
things like murder. And there was plenty of murder. Because bootleggers and moonshiners were one thing, but Prohibition had given another kind of criminal an opportunity to make a fortune.
Oh,
Mobsters and gangsters. Hey Fat Tony, big news. Hey Fat Joey, what's up? I just got word from Fat Louie here that the government's outlawing alcohol. You know what that means. That means we're gonna be rich. Quick, call Fat Polly and let's go hijack a
I
liquor
like how
truck.
they just created an entire movie for themselves. Like, like this, so many events in America or in any history, just like that's an entire movie right there.
Now, all right. Hang on, let me tell my wife first. Hey, Fat Susan! No pizza for Fat Joey tonight,
Hey,
capiche?
Susan!
Stop calling me Fat Susan!
Forget about it.
Come on! Rival gangs began to battle in America's cities, raiding each other's transports, assassinating rivals, and trying to take control of their city's illicit booze trade. Every city had its top dog. Detroit had the Purple Gang. New England had Charles King Solomon. But no city was as infamous for gang violence and murder as Chicago.
Oh,
The
really?
city had multiple gang
Chicago?
factions, and at first, they agreed to stay in their
I
own
would've thought it was
neighborhoods.
New York.
But the thing about criminals is that they're criminals, and the agreements inevitably broke down. One day, the leader of the Italian Southside gang was walking along the street when this happened. And he was like, you know, I think I'm done with this, and left for New York, leaving his crime empire to his chief enforcer, none other than Al Capone. Having
You know, I get it, man. If I walked down the street and I got shot, I'd probably just not want to deal with any of that either. F this shit, I'm out.
knifed in the face in his younger years, Capone earned himself the name Scarface.
Oh.
Although interestingly, he hated that nickname and preferred to be called Snorky. Snorky was ruthless,
Guys.
just like any other gang leader in America. But what set him apart from others, the reason he's become synonymous with 1920s gang warfare, is this. Most other gang leaders would try to keep a low profile.
Guys, the Scarface? Guys, say hello to my little friend Scarface. That one. Right? Right. Wow.
Because, you know, they're killing and murdering and stuff. But Capone lived for the fame and kept an extremely high public profile, frequently speaking with the media about his exploits and presenting himself as a gracious host, providing Chicago with good times. No need to thank me, fellas. I just provide the city with a valuable commodity while doing away with the competition. You mean you murder people? Whoa, who said anything about murder? I just, you know, force my rivals underground. When you do the thing with the hands, it seems like you're talking about murder. Whoa, look at you with the brains. No, I just help people retire from life. So murder.
No, he's just a sleep doctor. He gives them eternal sleep. Eternal sleep, obviously.
Snorky Capone was somewhat of an enigma, brutal in how he dealt with enemies. But in front of the camera, he was all smiles. One day, he'd be ordering hit after hit. The next, he'd be signing autographs in Wrigley Field. One day, he'd be bludgeoning members of his own gang with a baseball bat for conspiring against him. The next, he'd be playing Santa at a nearby parochial school. And no
What?
murder could ever be traced back to him. Just like every other criminal, he
Those
stuffed
are
the
the
pockets of
scariest
city.
ones, or like the charming murderers are like the scariest murderers, dude. That's why not one that's like really famous. A lot of famous murder. That one who's like, I swear, the most famous murder. Damn. One that was really charming to all the ladies. You guys know who I'm talking about. All the ladies like loved him. Well, there was that one. It was not Dahmer. That's the other really, really famous one. It was start with the T? Was it? I don't know.
The officials with cold, hard cash. And any who did try to oppose him
Ted
sometimes found themselves
Bundy.
being thrown.
Thank you. It was Ted Bundy. Yeah, Ted Bundy was apparently like really charming. You know, like smile in your face type. Those are the scariest killers. The ones that are like, yeah, like the charming, like that terrifies me. That's
on
horrible.
the steps
That's
of City
horrible.
Hall
That's
in
horrible.
broad daylight. Problem solved. The public couldn't get enough of Capone. He quickly became a household name as people romanticized the gang life he lived. And this became a source of concern for the people at the very top. President Hoover? Ugh, what is it now, Miles? I'm busy. Well, it's just that there's a lot of crime, sir. Crime? How long's that been happening? Well, since the dawn of man, sir. What? Would you like me to blame it on the Democrats again? No, Miles, I want you to blame it on squirrels. Yes, the Democrats. Now stop wasting my time. Since having a crime lord controlling
Blame it
public
on the
officials
squirrels.
and
We'll
winning the
solve
hearts of
all
the
the
people
problems.
probably wasn't a good thing. Hoover personally ordered that something be done about this Capone fellow. But before he knew it, President Hoover was also dealing with another major problem. You know him. You love him. Woman. The Prohibition era had been going
It comes back to us, chat. It's a
on
cycle.
for nearly a decade, and anyone with a brain could see that it really wasn't going very well. One person with a brain was Pauline Sabin, an extremely influential and rich woman who served on the Republican National Committee, fundraised for Republican presidents, and had a secret wine room in her giant mansion. She
You're the
initially
problem, I
supported
know.
Prohibition, but was now disgusted at the chaos it had created, and she began a new women's movement, this time not for Prohibition, but against it. Being the extremely influential
Lemon
woman she
jump
was,
scare.
her new organization gained nearly 1.5 million members within 2 years, 5 times that of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. She hated that the WCTU claimed to speak for all women, and she began calling for the repeal of the 18th Amendment. President Hoover, I helped fund your campaign, and now I want you to end prohibition. Miles, what is it I say when I'm not going to do anything? You'll look into it, sir. Oh yeah, that's right. Pauline? I'll look into it. Sabin gave speeches on the steps of Congress and helped start a growing push among the American people against prohibition. But Hoover, a prohibitionist himself, wasn't budging. Then, on the 14th of February 1929, something happened that shocked the nation. Men, thought to be working for Al Capone, tricked some Irish mobsters into...
I just say Al Capone is such a hard name. That name is a really, like, not trying to glorify this man or glamorize. I'm not trying to. I'm just specifically talking about the name alone. The name alone, that's a pretty cool name. Al Capone.
Meeting them at a garage in Chicago, thinking they were there to purchase hijacked
separating
whiskey.
the name from the man.
Instead,
It's a
the
pretty
mobsters
cool
were
name.
lined up against the wall by men dressed as police, and they were shot. The Valentine's Day massacre had people outraged. It was cruel and almost felt like American mobsters had finally crossed a line. People were sick of the violence, and in part, they blamed Prohibition for helping to create it. The pressure on Hoover to do something was steadily increasing. Fine. Miles, I want you to put a report together to see if this whole thing is working. You mean the thing where mobsters are becoming increasingly powerful and massacring each other in the streets and everyone is disregarding the law and half our public officials are corrupt and taking bribes? That thing? Yeah, I want to know if it's working or not, Miles. Stop wasting my time! Hoover continued to drag his feet on prohibition, but after the Valentine's Day massacre, he was still determined to do one thing. He wanted Al Capone in prison. Since Capone had been so careful, the FBI were having a hard time charging him with anything, but eventually, they got him. Capone, we know you're supplying Chicago with alcohol and you've been involved in countless murders. Whoa, look at you with the crazy talk. I ain't done none of that stuff. But you're rich, right? You're damn right I am. And so where'd all the money come from,
How
Capone?
does he get away with doing like massive, you know, having a whole
Your soul
gang
is mine.
and then also being like the head of everything and no one can link anything to him? How does that happen? Paying everyone off. Oh.
All right, I'll let you in on a little secret, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay?
Pays them. Makes sense.
Don't pay my taxes. Whoa! For all of his murdering, the IRS finally got Capone on tax evasion. At his trial, he didn't seem too concerned though, and spent most of his time having a laugh with his lawyers. Hey Capone, I gotta know, why are you so confident you're gonna win here? Well, Your Honor, because I'm an honest man with a big heart who's passionate about working for the good of the people. And also because I threatened the entire jury's families. Luckily, at the last minute, the judge replaced the entire jury pool with a new one that Capone's men hadn't yet got to, and Capone was found guilty. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal
Oh, smart. That was smart of the judge.
prison, the harshest penalty ever given to a tax evader. But even with Capone locked away, the violence in Chicago and other cities continued, and in response, the movement against prohibition continued to grow. And the final nail in prohibition's coffin
Leo's
came in
cats. Thank you for the follow.
1929. After a decade of booming economic growth under 3 Republican presidents, the stock market plummeted, and America was thrown into the grips of the Great Depression. It was an awful time. 1 out of every 5 workers, 15 million people, would lose their jobs. Half the nation's banks failed. Temporary shantytowns were built for the broken homeless in public parks. Suddenly, very few people had time to care about prohibition. Expensive enforcement of an unenforceable law didn't seem like that big of a priority when people were having their homes repossessed and losing their life savings. And many began to argue that repealing prohibition would create vital jobs and tax revenue for the government. Yet President Hoover doubled down. Here's that report you asked for, sir.
Hi, Shadow.
Prohibition is great. Fantastic news. Sir, it says here prohibition is great at undermining the rule of law in America. Miles,
didn't want to read
it
the
says
rest.
the word great. That means good. Now stop wasting my time! The public, increasingly shocked at the violence they saw in the streets, the corruption they saw in the government, the general disregard for the law, and now an economic calamity, had enough. For his re-election, Hoover faced a Democratic candidate who promised to finally do something about prohibition, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Crowds cheered as FDR made his campaign speeches promising to modify the Volstead Act, and Pauline Sabin, a lifelong Republican, along with her 1.5 million supporters, endorsed Roosevelt. And on Election Day, it was a landslide.
Oh, wow.
Before FDR had even taken office, Republicans in Congress began the process
Hoover
of passing the
got
21st Amendment to
wrecked.
repeal prohibition. One of
Your
FDR's first acts as
soul
president
is
was to
mine.
pass
Yes,
the Beer
thank you for
Permit
the
Act, which
follow.
made beer legal while the new amendment was being ratified. In 1933, With the passage of the 21st Amendment, Prohibition was finally over, and the people celebrated like they'd just won a world war. Bars and taverns were packed. The WCTU were inconsolable. Wayne Wheeler was dead. And the celebration, particularly in America's cities, was intense. Heading into the mid-1930s, the effects of Prohibition
Everybody
were
was like,
clear
let's
to
go,
see.
boys!
From now on, culture around drinking had changed, with men and women drinking together, not in saloons, but in bars and taverns. The crime syndicates that had been given so much power through Prohibition remained powerful as they moved on to other things. Some states opted to remain dry, with Oklahoma only repealing its Prohibition laws in 1959. To this day, there are still counties in America with some form of prohibition. So what did we learn today, kids? What's the big lesson here?
Everyone's a hypocrite. The biggest moral of the story is everyone's a freaking hypocrite.
Story that we can all take away and apply to our day-to-day lives. Maybe that you shouldn't force your own morals on others who don't share them. Maybe that if you tell Americans not to do something, that's the one thing they'll definitely do.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is no lesson. Maybe we're all just a bunch of dumb, stinky idiots, and we're all doomed. The end.
We are just a bunch of idiots. We're all a bunch of idiots.